Well, that's the craziest thing about 1883 is that you don't have to do any dramatic embellishment. It doesn't have to be any fucking with the truth. That is literally what went down. Those people literally came here. You were telling me on the phone that what percentage of the people that made the trek across couldn't even speak English?
You know, something like 40%. You know, they used to come in from, they would come into, and of course what our government was doing was we needed people for a multitude of reasons after the Civil War. So many of the workforce had been killed, you know, 1 million soldiers died that we know of. We don't know how many other civilians. So we needed people. We needed people to settle the West because Manifest Destiny basically said, hey, there's all this land we bought from whoever we bought it from, France, I guess, the Louisiana Purchase. And we can't settle it because every time we try, the Lakota or the Comanche kick the shit out of us. So we should send a bunch of Central Europeans and Eastern Europeans over there and let them get in the middle of it. And so in all of these, and you can look up, if you were to put it into the computer, you can pull up all of these pamphlets they would put out and ads they would put out in newspapers in Romania and Norway, obviously Ireland, did it everywhere, Germany, and said, come, free land.
Yeah.
Come get your free land. And when I started researching it, there were people that would come from areas where it was against the law to swim. They were not allowed to swim.
Wow.
No one knew how to swim.
It was against the law to swim.
Against the law to swim.
What the fuck? That seems so insane. What seems so insane, what really struck me, I mean, I did a lot of thinking about that show last night. Like it ended, I did my binge. I ended the binge at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And, at nighttime I do some of my most fucked up thinking because everyone is asleep in my house. It's just me. And I generally do most of my writing when everyone's asleep. And I was just thinking, that's 140 years ago. That's nothing. I'm 56 years old. When I was in high school, it was in 1983. So that was 100 years ago. I was a sophomore in high school. So 100 years is nothing. 100 years before that, you make your way across the country on a fucking wagon and you get free land.
Yeah.
100 years. That's so short a period of time. It's so hard for us to really appreciate how recent that is. And how fucking insane the change in this country over such a short period of time has been.
Meteoric. I
Nothing
just
like
read
it.
something in the last day or two that, and I'm going to get it wrong, but 1937 is closer to 1984 than 2023 is to 84 or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you think about the gap between 1984 and 2023, and then what 84 was like, I was alive, you were alive, to now, it doesn't seem like that dramatic a change. Obviously there is internet, but you still had cars, you had phones, you couldn't take them with you, but you had them. But 1937, we haven't even made penicillin yet.
Right.
That's just 40 years.
Yeah, trench warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. World War I.
Yeah. No, these they came over here, they didn't speak the language. They knew nothing about the land, knew nothing about the water, it did, by the way, you can be rest assured it did not say in that advertisement in the Romanian Times, there's other people who already live there who will kill you when you show up. It didn't mention any of that. They didn't hear about the Indians till they got to Galveston, and they're buying their supplies. You need a gun? Well, what do you need a gun? Well, the Indians. The who? What are you talking about? Who are Indians? Well, you're going to find out.
Yeah, that was a part of Empire of the Summer Moon, that these folks had just established these homesteads and had no idea. And the Comanches would show up and just slaughter them. They had no idea. That there was even a concern, and they had to figure it out along the way.
Yeah. And and you read in that book, and from a military standpoint, it's just an impressive achievement that Nakona decided he was going to raid all the way to Galveston. And he marched through, burned Austin, went all the way to Galveston. Everybody got on their boats, went out on their boats and watched him burn Galveston. Then they went in and looted all the stores and found these parasols, sit there and block the sun. And the Comanche thought, freaking smartest thing. I wish we'd had fabric to do that with. So all the Braves took these parachutes. And when they rode off, there's thousands of Comanche warriors with parasols of all these different colors, blocks getting the sun off their shoulders.
Running away with umbrellas.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But what a terrifying visual that would be.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I had no idea until I read Empire of the Summer Moon. And then I had the author come in. What is his name again? S.G. Gwen? Is that it? Great fucking guy. And he found out when he moved to Texas. Like he moved here and then was researching Texas history. S.C. Gwen. And when he moved here and he was researching Texas, then he was like, oh my God, like how do I not know about all this? How do I not know what this happened? How do I not know about the Texas Rangers and how they were established and why they needed them and what went down? Yeah,
it was the Wild West.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons why Texas is such a crazy place. It's like this was kind of the last stand.
Yeah, and Texas was its own nation for 14 years, 13 years, and it's still that independence is still pretty embedded in it.
Yeah, they want to put it back on the ballot
every year. This experiment hasn't worked.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is when you think about the United States only being established in 1776 and how recent that is in human history, but the idea of a new country being established today seems insane. Like, there's no way. Impossible.
No, it's not going to. There's part of Oregon wants to secede and join Idaho. There's a section up there around Humboldt County and up in that area in California. They want the same thing. And it's understandable because you have people who, you take the eastern half of Oregon, virtually all of them are in some form of agriculture.
Right.
Right. They're ranching or they're farming or they're doing something. Same with that part of Northern California. You're doing timber, you're growing something, whether it's weed or whether it's whatever, you're doing something agricultural. And then you come to these big urban centers and where people do not understand where their food comes from.
Right.
I read an article, this is when I lived in LA as an actor, and there was some uproar. Some cheerleader had gone hunting and killed a deer or something. And the picture made it in the paper. Or somehow made it somewhere, and there was this massive. People went nuts, and I'm flipping through the paper, and I'm reading the letters to the editor. It's kind of up there in the front, and they were all about this girl, and there's a picture of her, and one of them said that all hunters should be killed. How dare they go out and kill that animal? Why can't they just go get their food at the grocery store where it's made?